We've got some strange behavior on the Disneyland app leading to some wild speculation, some thoughts on the Buzz Lightyear Space Mountain rumor that might surprise you, and another scary rumor regarding Pirates of the Caribbean. We'll talk about all this next on Fresh Baked. Hi guys, David here with Fresh Baked, and we've got some wild speculation, crazy rumors, and then more wild speculation, my favorite topics. And we'll get right into it. The first thing I want to share with you is a screenshot that somebody sent me in direct message on Twitter. I guess you can see already the part circled in red. This reservation is asking the guests to arrive between midnight and 3 a.m. Obviously, this is a technical glitch, but I'm bringing this to you today because I'm in the camp that believes that there is a reason for just about everything. Everything means something. Sometimes the reason is benign, but other times, with just a little bit of thought and logic, that thing could turn into something a little more interesting. This screenshot can be found in the future plans of the Disneyland app. As a matter of fact, you can see it right now. It's still live. I've been told, actually, that it's been there for about a month or so. And that's recent enough for it to be called a new development, if you ask me. And whenever I see something like that, it makes me ask why. Why were the app developers compelled to mess with the app in this particular place in this way? Perhaps they were trying to implement a code change that was done also on the Walt Disney World app. Looks like they got it right though, at least, well, more right anyway than we did here. On the Walt Disney World app, it says arrive between park open and park close. Fair enough. But this, of course, raises the question, again, why bother? Why do I need to be instructed about when to show up to the park? Obviously, I can show up, this is a day ticket. I can show up to the park anywhere between opening and closing. Now, obviously, one reason why they might be trying to do this is to unify the code. Unify the code between the reservation system, the mobile ordering system, and the Lightning Lane system. Those last two, they do have arrival windows. But still, I asked out of curiosity, could this be Disney trying to prepare for some sort of staged arrival setup in the Disneyland app? I was told, yes, that is possible. But really, the reason is because they had already done it. This is not something they're trying to do. This is something that they have already done. I'll take you way back before even Walt Disney World opened. In June of 2020, screenshots of a reservation system were leaked to the WDW Magic forums. And they suggested that very thing, staged arrivals. In the screenshot, there were at least two slots, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Probably others too. Now, obviously, this setup was needed in order to accommodate social distancing. They wanted to spread out the crowds. They couldn't have everybody showing up into the park at the same time. They had to, or would have needed to, or wanted to distribute the guests a little bit. But they didn't do it, and they couldn't have. It never would have worked. They wouldn't have had a corresponding tier system for the cost of the ticket. In other words, are they all paying the same price? Does the 9 a.m. arriver pay the same as the 11 a.m. arriver? And if they don't, if there's a discount for arriving at 11 a.m., then they would have had to kick out the 9 a.m. arrivals 2 hours before the 11 a.m. arrivals. Lots of headaches in that particular system, but never mind that. That's not our conversation right now. The point is that there was a framework for staged arrivals. So why now? We don't have a need, obviously, for staged arrivals because of, social distancing restrictions, but we may need them. Disney may be interested in them as a response to the guest who says, I want to go to the park without a reservation. In other words, there could be a magic key in development that would allow guests to arrive without a reservation after a certain time, maybe after 6 p.m., a twilight hour. Get the Dream Key and you've got access to the Twilight Arrival system. Arrive after 6 p.m., no reservations needed. It's a fabulous way, actually. It's a great way for Disney to accomplish a lot of things, but namely to backfill the park at a time when the park is getting empty and to allow those guests that feeling of being able to spontaneously go to the park without having to worry about the reservation system. I am positive that there is a market for this in Southern California. Keys are desperate for a little bit of flexibility in the reservation system. They are dying for it, but that's all really thin. I'm basing that kind of idea on a simple, glitch in the app. But consider this. DSNY Newscast posted this screenshot. Looks pretty straightforward, except he's noted that it didn't used to say, quote unquote, day visit before. Of course, my guy Hoffman was all over this. Now, I don't speak CSS, so I can't translate for you what he's saying. But what I gleaned is that it was intentional, with purpose. What is it? I don't know. Why? Why was it? He's saying it's intentional. They made a point of doing this. But whatever the reason is, that's two very similar glitches in the system on two completely separate apps, two coasts, one on the Disneyland coast, one at Walt Disney World, but those glitches are very similar in terms of what they're managing. Who knows if it's going to amount to anything, but we're going to find out. I think we're going to find out in August when those magic keys become up for renewal. Stay tuned to Fresh Baked. I'm going to be paying very close attention to stories like this because, the clock is ticking on that and we need to know soon. Stay tuned to Fresh Baked. I'll keep you up to date. For now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Buzz Lightyear rumors as it relates to Space Mountain. Disneyland News Today reported that they heard a rumor that Space Mountain could be getting a reskin. This caught my attention, of course, because we had reported a rumor a few weeks ago that Disney had considered doing this very thing. But the rumor we heard was just a temporary reskin. Disneyland News Today reported a permanent reskin. My first reaction, obviously, is there's no way. This is not going to happen, and I'm sure it's the same for most of you out there. There is simply no way that Disney would be so brazen as to reskin a legendary attraction like Space Mountain. It is on Mount Rushmore, and you don't just put a permanent skin on a Mount Rushmore attraction. Of course, that's easy for you and me to say. Our hearts are in it. If I were running the Disney company, there would be a less than zero chance of this ever happening. But I believe that Disney management, they're not so scared. I believe that Disney is capable of doing something like that. They're redoing Splash Mountain. Now, it's not in the same league, obviously, as Space Mountain, to be sure, but it is happening. They did it to the Jungle Cruise already. Not a complete reskin, of course, but they absolutely, they put their hands on an attraction that was here opening day. This is one of Walt's attractions. Think about that. That's a big deal. Meanwhile, there absolutely is an IP initiative within the Disney company right now. IP right now is the barrier to entry to any new project, and they are going out of their way to try to find a way to put IP into existing attractions. Cars Land, Galaxy's Edge, Avengers Campus, obviously. Pixar Pier, Pixar Pier Hotel. Over at Walt Disney World, you've got Frozen Ever After. All those updates at Epcot with IP influence. Meanwhile, back at Disneyland, the only thing saving Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean is that they went the other direction. The ride is the IP. They've got movies coming out based on the attractions, or already out. Somehow Jungle Cruise survived getting the rock treatment, but I've got a feeling this might be due to Disney developing a Society of Explorers and Adventurers, SEA for short, a franchise built around this concept. And the new Jungle Cruise backstory has references to SEA and could eventually become part of that IP, part of a SEA franchise. If you're unsure of what SEA is, Society of Explorers and Adventurers, I suggest checking out Offhand Disney. This is a topic that he's very keen on. He's got a lot of great videos on this topic. Go check out Offhand Disney. But anyway, all of that is to say that Disney is definitely in the IP business. Disneyland is in the IP business. Now, getting back to Lightyear on Space Mountain, completely possible. I completely think it's possible. And it doesn't even matter that the Lightyear film is not doing very well in theaters right now. What's happening there, I believe, is more a factor of Disney Plus than the quality of the film. They have conditioned a certain segment of the population to wait for a film to come out on Disney Plus rather than seeing it in the theaters first. It makes sense. That's something that I have been doing on a lot of Disney films. I'm seeing other films in theaters instead of Disney films, waiting for those to come out on D+. Encanto and Turning Red, both of those had limited runs in theaters, if any at all. I can't remember if Encanto even wound up in theaters. But they did have tremendous success. Their success started when they started streaming on Disney+. So I don't think that Lightyear's performance in the theaters right now, it would inhibit Disney, would change their mind at all. In fact, they might even be pleased with $50 million in the first week. That's a distinct possibility, you guys. But the bottom line of this story really is that we know that Disney's capable of doing this because they've done it already. There's a skin out there that exists. It's already been done. Right now, it's just a question of scale. Permanent or temporary? Oh, and I mentioned in the intro that there's a little twist to this story. Look around the Disneyland Resort for anything that does not have a specific IP attached to it. The Tiki Room, the Monorail, Autopia, the Golden Zephyr, pretty much all of Grizzly Peak, actually. These are all candidates for some kind of IP influence for Disney to install IP on top of the existing attraction. The Grand Californian Hotel, even. Get used to the idea of something happening with one of those attractions or others that I didn't think of. In fact, here's an assignment for everybody following along. If you were going to retheme the Grand Californian Hotel to some kind of Disney IP, what would it be? How would you do it? Something to think about. And you might not even be the only one. Okay, one more rumor, and this one is kind of wacky. Pirates of the Caribbean is set to reopen on July 1st, and the two questions we're asked the most often are they removing Jack Sparrow, and are they adding Lightning Lane? We'll knock the easy one out first. No, they're not removing Jack Sparrow. Jack Sparrow is not being taken out of the attraction. He never was. He's going to be there when the attraction opens on July 1st. But the second one, that one's a little bit more iffy. Back in 2018, Disney teased that they were going to add Pirates to FastPass. They put the scanners out front and everything. New signage too. But then they changed their mind before the attraction ever opened. I'm talking about reopening after they installed Red, the new Red scene. Fast forward today, when I'm asked whether or not they're going to add Lightning Lane to Pirates, I usually say something like, that would be crazy. There's perhaps no single attraction in the entire Disneyland Resort that needs Lightning Lane less than Pirates of the Caribbean. It's clearly the most efficient ride system of any attraction in the park. So much so, it is the very definition of, yeah, the line looks long, but it goes quick though. It is the literal definition of that kind of ride. But then I follow that with, it wouldn't surprise me if Disney did. They are absolutely capable of making the wrong decision like this, all under the pretense of propping up a fledgling piece of software like Genie Plus. I heard a rumor that there have been changes to the software that manages MEP distribution for Pirates of the Caribbean. Quick primer on MEPs, or multi-experience passes. If you've ever been on a ride that breaks down, sometimes cast members will issue you an MEP, a multi-experience pass. The MEP is essentially, a fast pass or a Lightning Lane that can be used on another attraction. Now, it can only be used on another attraction laterally. That is to say, an attraction that is of equal popularity. For example, let's say Splash Mountain. You're on Splash Mountain, it breaks down. You couldn't use that MEP for Rise of the Resistance. Instead, that would be good for Autopia, Star Tours, Soarin'. I've been advised that the app that CMs use to issue MEPs has been updated to show, for Pirates of the Caribbean, if Pirates were to break down and they issue an MEP, that MEP would be good for Rise of the Resistance or Web Slingers or Radiator Springs Racers, individual Lightning Lane attractions. One would then take the next logical step and say, if that is true, if that is the case, if they are issuing MEPs for Pirates and those MEPs are good for Rise, then that means that Pirates of the Caribbean is Lightning Lane. Now, before I get into this further, it is understood that it is very likely that there is existing code in that app. There's existing functionality for Pirates of the Caribbean to have FastPass type rules for it, because obviously back in 2018 they were going to put Pirates of the Caribbean in FastPass. However, the distinction that is being made with this particular story is that this is a new development. Sure, that software had already been, or that functionality might have already been there, but the fact that they updated it to make it so that you could use a Pirates MEP for Rise of the Resistance, that's a new development. And with that, I will say right now, we are firmly in the rumor and wild speculation part of this conversation. Because first, we have to assume that that part of it is true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Then we have to take that next logical leap and say, well, if that is the case, then it's Lightning Lane. Now, personally, I don't think this is going to happen, mostly because the idea of making Pirates Lightning Lane is completely insane. If you do, first thing you have to do is dedicate, probably, most likely, one of those queues into a Lightning Lane, and probably DAS also, but you've got the left queue and the right queue, one of those is becoming Lightning Lane. And as soon as you do that, you have effectively doubled the queue. You have put twice as many guests that would have been in the left queue are now all in the right queue, plus the people that were already in the right queue. This is for a queue that on a busy day already was stretching out into the New Orleans Square's walkways towards Haunted Mansion. Meanwhile, that queue would move less briskly, obviously, because that is what happens to every attraction that gets Lightning Lane. Lightning Lane gets all the priority, so that standby queue no longer is a goes quick though queue. It is now going to be a slow mover. Just look at the Matterhorn for an example of what the Matterhorn used to be a goes quick though. It is not now, it crawls. And thirdly, there's more. You're going to ask Disney to issue MEPs for Rise of the Resistance, an attraction that has already got way too many guests in the queue. a ride that already has issues with reliability. And we all know what happens when a ride goes down. It makes the other rides around it in the immediate area back up like crazy. Whenever you see sudden spikes in the wait time for Space Mountain or Indiana Jones, it's usually because the other one broke down. A breakdown at Indy, all those guests go to Space Mountain. Now, the wait doubles on that line because everybody's moved over there with their MEPs. I guess what I'm saying is that even if it were true that there was some sort of change in the software or the app that distributes MEPs and somehow it changed for Pirates of the Caribbean, I just can't imagine a scenario where Disney would do something that would just change things so dramatically. It would create havoc in New Orleans Square. And never mind the fact that you would send those guests to Rise of the Resistance potentially. I mean, it would be a problem if Pirates was added to Lightning Lane in any capacity, under any tier, even the Autopia level tier. So I'm just putting this out in the universe. Disney, if you're thinking about this, please don't. And that's our update this week, guys. We got some weird shenanigans going on with the Disneyland app with regard to the reservation system. Is it a clue? We sure do love to speculate. Meanwhile, is Disney crazy enough to put a permanent Buzz Lightyear skin on Space Mountain? Well, actually, yes. Yes, I think they are crazy enough to do just that. But they got to be really extra crazy to make Pirates of the Caribbean Lightning Lane. Let's hope that winds up being one of those no big deal type of things. But thank you guys very much for watching. Follow us on Instagram at _FreshBaked, on Twitter at FreshBakedDisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at FreshBakedDisney. If you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/FreshBaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And Fresh Baked.